My most requested video ever. Alright. Disclaimer, this series revolves around criticizing things, and just because I'm doing that doesn't necessarily mean I dislike the thing. Thank you. Click below to watch the original Sins video, or to buy Coco.
When will Disney and Pixar studios just merge already? They are only separate because they both love logos.
Logos?
Also, I don't care if it's two of the most successful studios of all time, that's 44 seconds of two logos.
And I don't care if that's 44 seconds of two logos. That's 10 seconds of complaining about 44 seconds of two logos. Also, yes, I am fully aware that the last two Sins took 15 seconds between them, and yes, I'd completely see the irony. Maybe I'll get to that in Sins 3.
You know, the last time I was in a room with a woman this old, a wrestling mask, and feathers, I've already said too much.
God damn it, now even Jeremy is kink-shaming Jeremy.
No music! No music! No music!
This really is just the Mexican animated version of Footloose, right?
This movie, that movie.
I am not like the rest of my family.
Ratatouille, Brave, Moana, The Good Dinosaur, Frozen, Planes, Zootopia. Wouldn't it be weird to see a Disney Pixar movie about a protagonist that was exactly like their family?
Yes, that would be weird, because definitely none of those exist.
The inside jokes in these Pixar movies and movies in general are becoming distracting.
You either get to complain that something is distracting, or you get to draw an arrow to it because you don't think people will notice if you don't. Pick one.
Earlier, his grandma had super hearing for anything resembling music, but here he is in the attic, listening to and playing along with music, and no one in the entire house hears it.
She didn't have super hearing for it, she just lost her shit when she did hear it. There's a subtle but distinct difference.
Sure, he can sneak out, but his family celebrates this event together, and they're going to notice him missing. I don't know how he expects this plan to work. Miguel is kind of stupid.
I honestly don't think he cares if he does get caught. My interpretation when watching this movie was he cares about going to that contest so much he's willing to just take the punishment for it.
It's time you joined us in the workshop!
Nike.
That is not a sin. That's a brand of shoe. Jeremy must learn the difference between brands of shoe and sins.
Ah, I see Heaven was designed by Dr. Seuss.
Just like I imagine a lot of you did, I grew up reading a lot of Dr. Seuss, and this is no way meant as an insult to his work, but this is so much more breathtaking than anything he ever created. Honestly, I think the visual design is one of the best things about this movie. Or at least I would think that, if I didn't also think that everything else in this movie was just as amazing. You know what? I don't think I've ever given this advice mid-video before, but if you haven't seen Coco, stop watching this and go watch it. I know that a lot of you do like watching my videos, even if you haven't seen the original movie, and just let me say that Coco is worth it. Go watch it. I know I'll get less watch time if you do that, but I'm just incredibly selfless, and modest, and attractive. Anyway, I feel like that was a tangent within a tangent within a tangent, but I'm pretty sure there was a sin in there somewhere. So...
Hey, Zucristo, I wanted to take a sin off for the unbelievable animation about 5 times already, and the movie's finally broken me. 2 sins off!
Yeah? Alright.
His finger is back to the futuring!
This movie had... Hang on, the two movies aren't even similar enough for me to do a this movie, that movie. That's like a whole new level. This movie had a hand where one of the fingers fades into like a skeleton, and the other movie has like, you know, some fading out in photographs, and I think maybe a hand fades at some point. It's been a while since I've seen that film, but I'm fairly sure. I mean, the only real similarity is the word fade and maybe the word hand.
Should we tell him there are no restrooms in the land of the dead?
There are no restrooms, but there are pet allergies.
Ah, yes. Pooping and being allergic to dogs. There are two intrinsically linked aspects of the human experience. I honestly just couldn't imagine one without the other, really.
I should lock you up for the rest of the holiday, but my shift's almost up, so I'm letting you off with a warning.
So, is there law and order in the land of the dead all the time, or just during the Day of the Dead?
Well, logic and common sense would dictate that there's law and order all the time, but nothing even raised this question or made it relevant. And the answer would have absolutely no bearing on the story whatsoever. In fact, I'd even go so far to say, this is a thing that the movie should not be taking time out to explain, because taking time out to explain this would retract from the pacing and add nothing to the plot.
And regardless, what's the judiciary system based on?
This is a thing that the movie should not be taking time out to explain, because taking time out to explain this would retract from the pacing and add nothing to the plot.
Do they use the same laws as the living? If so, what replaces the death penalty for particularly egregious acts?
This is a thing that the movie should not be taking time out to explain, because taking time out to explain this would retract from the pacing and add nothing to the plot. I really hope he doesn't do any more of those, because I honestly can't think of any more harmonies to add to that. I've fully stretched my vocal range. Here's praying that Jeremy doesn't do any sims in the rest of this video. that are like that.
Nice gag. Solid joke. Why does he even have eyeballs?
At a guess, I'd say he uses them to see.
What the f?
This is called a joke. Also, nude drawing is fairly standard art practice, and it's not her fault she's a skeleton.
Ask him how he died. He choked on some chorizo!
This land of the dead still celebrates the rich and famous from life, like Ernesto and his tower party going on right now. But this place also bullies and mocks people who choke to death in life. And all I can think about now here is where exactly Jimi Hendrix would land on the social scale here. Also, they're mocking this guy for choking to death, but Ernesto gets a celebrity pass against afterlife bullying, even though he died by falling Mexican Liberty Bell.
Well, yeah, the guy's rich, famous, and popular. If Hector had that kind of social status, I'm sure less people would make fun of him. Well, no, more people would make fun of him, but less people would make fun of him to his face, I'm guessing. Also, there's literally no evidence to suggest that De La Cruz doesn't get mocked for dying in that way. We only really see him interact with Miguel in this movie, and of course he's not going to make fun of him.
Winner gets to play at his part.
Not only is everything in this room expositional fodder for Miguel's journey, there's an extremely convenient music festival that would allow him to meet De La Cruz. Also, this is the second major music competition in this movie, and while it's not the movie's fault, the Pitch Perfect series has really worn me out on that kind of thing as a plot device.
This movie, that movie.
Our memories, they have to be passed down by those who knew us in life.
Well, I find that to be some bullshit. My memories aren't good enough or powerful enough unless I've talked about them ad nauseum around enough friends that one of them still remembers the stories. Also, this movie that is clearly pro-family, fine, that is cool, is so pro-family they risk alienating people who don't have a lot of siblings or those that choose not to have children. A minority, yes, I'm just saying movie is outright suggesting I should have kids and tell them all my stories.
Jeremy, you've passed your story on to 7.8 million subscribers while you've been alive. I'm pretty sure you'll be okay. If just being famous works for Ernesto De La Cruz, I'm sure it'll work for you as well. So don't worry, I'm sure you'll be fine when you die and none of this happens anyway because it's all made up for a movie. Pfft, it reminds me of that time that Brooks Show sent the Phantom Menace for introducing metachlorians. Because introducing something like that not everybody has means that if he doesn't have a high metachlorian count, he can't ever be a Jedi.
Let's talk about how the Land of the Dead, but not Final Dead, has electricity.
You say let's talk about this before abruptly moving on to something else straight away. That's not talking about it, that's just saying you're going to talk about it and then moving on. Also, the Land of the Dead seems to have most of the stuff that the Land of the Living has, except for restrooms. But electricity is crossing some kind of line, damn it.
Flying magical beast combinations somehow can't get through a narrow staircase in the Land of the Dead. I'm honestly clueless on the rules of this movie, and that's a problem worth mentioning.
Here's a hint to the quote-unquote rules of this movie. A creature or an object or a thing can't fit inside a space that's smaller than that creature, object, or thing. Like if there's a hole that something's trying to fit inside and the thing is bigger than the hole, it's not getting in. Funnily enough, this rule actually applies in real life too. This is a rule you should definitely be familiar with by now because it literally applies to our entire material plane excluding your mum.
Wait, they're using a super powerful spirit animal to serve f***ing hors d'oeuvres?
It's almost as if this party is deliberately being portrayed as overindulgent, decadent, and narcissistic on the part of De La Cruz.
My great-great-grandson!
Do they honestly have time for polo? Isn't Miguel on a mission that is time-sensitive and confined to a single day?
No, he's no longer on that mission because he thinks he's finished it. As far as he's aware, he just needs to get De La Cruz's blessing and he can go home. So why wouldn't he be making the most of this very rare opportunity to spend time with his idol?
I am sorry to see you go, Miguel.
It's at this point that movie prematurely gives the twist away, considering there's 30 minutes of runtime left, and there's no way this will actually work.
If the runtime is a giveaway, maybe you shouldn't check the runtime midway through a movie. You may as well, while you're watching the movie, look up a plot synopsis and then complain that that contains spoilers.
If you murder a living human kid in the Land of the Dead, does he die or what? He never died the first time, so he can't die a final death here. Which means that best case scenario, he just comes back here as a proper skeleton, no?
Yeah, and maybe that's why they're not trying to kill him, you fucking dingus.
I wish I could tell her that her papa was trying to come home.
Hector plays the pronoun game with Coco just so we can wring a little more tension out of this reveal.
Why would Hector be using Coco's name? He has no reason to believe that Miguel knows who she is. Referring to her as my daughter and she is the easiest way forward here.
Even after the realization that they're related and can easily rectify both of their situations by finding one of those plentiful petals and getting Hector's blessing, these assholes sit around this cave instead of searching for a way out.
After taking about 5 seconds to take in this life-changing revelation, they get rescued. They really didn't waste any time here.
You will return home. No more music.
Family comes first.
What?
It's almost as if Miguel has developed as a character over the course of the story. Imagine that.
Going home.
You're not going anywhere.
Yeah, that's on Miguel for taking his sweet-ass time to grab that f***ing pedal.
Actually, I'm pretty sure that's on literally everyone else who should have been able to see Ernesto approaching Miguel from behind, because that's the direction they were looking in with the eyes they still have.
Look, we all knew there would be another spirit animal ex machina moment here, but what the f*** took Pepita this long?
Yeah, what the fuck was with those, like, at least 3 seconds?
If you forget him, he'll be gone. Forever.
Ah, Eternal Sunshine! I knew this movie was basically an amalgamation of 5 other movies, and until now I only knew 4 of them. Back to the Future, Crossroads, Heaven Can Wait, The Passion of the Christ, obviously, and finally, Eternal Sunshine of the Spotless Mind. Glad that's solved.
The sarcastic glad that's solved at the end lets me know that not even you care about the parts where you name other movies in relation to the movie you're sinning.
Remember me.
I should remove a sin for this scene being so emotionally powerful, but since I can't see what I'm writing while ugly crying, I'll just let the sin counter do what it wants.
It goes fucking up.
Remember me.
Just what we needed, a pop remix of a song we've heard roughly 54 times already in the f***ing movie.
That song is so central to this film that any other song would feel out of place here. So the sin total was 35, and the penalty will be ugly crying, because, such a good film. I never actually ugly cried at a film before this one. This is something special. Anyway, I hope you've enjoyed this. Let me know what you think of me doing regular CinemaSins on Fridays sometimes. Not all the time, just sometimes instead of off-brand Sins. I'll see you on Friday for a Friday video. Goodbye.